All right. This is Big J again, and I'm doing another interview this week with Nakaya. Say that again, please.
Nikayla, but I go by
Uh,
Jasmine.
okay, Nakayla, Jasmine Thomas. She's the candidate for the U.S. Senate um, in the state of Oklahoma. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to you as well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Um, I, Um, Now I email you and everything, and you know, Wayne, Mark Wayne, Mullen was senator. Um, and I'm gonna talk about that later on. But um, give us the reason why you are running for the United States Senate, and please tell everybody about yourself. With an introduction though.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Nikayla Jasmine Thomas, but I go by Jasmine. I tell people that the only people that call me Jasmine are bill collectors and people who don't know me. My friends call me Jasmine. I love that joke. That's right up my alley right there. That is my personality in a little teacup, not even the full coffee cup, which I have not had today. So please excuse me if I seem a little bit off. I
Yes,
am not
ma'am.
trying to be. But I am a nurse, active duty military spouse. My husband's in the Army, has been in the Army for 12 years. And I am a mom of two. I have one whom has autism, level two, and I'm Black, white, Native American. So this is actually a historical campaign because we have never had a woman or a person of color ever hold this position federally. And let me emphasize on that federally, because a lot of people will say, well, they're senators, well, they're state legislatures, not federal legislators that's been in this seat that's been a woman and or a minority. But I've been in this campaign for over a year now, and I've been solely grassroots. So that means that I do not take any foreign money or any dark money. And I work for my community. So therefore, I do not accept corporate money as well. So that should give everyone a sigh of relief that I am working for the betterment of the community and not for the special interest.
All right. So you said though you are a nurse, and and what is the state of when it comes to healthcare, um, um, in your state? How much what's the state of healthcare in your state? Where is it ranked in terms of healthcare, and what is the crucial issues concerning in that area?
Yeah, so we're ranked 49th in healthcare right now. And right now we are seeing lack of providers, nurses, any medical professionals. And also, we're seeing our rural healthcare clinics close along with the hospitals because we have lack of funding that is going back into our rural communities. So, that is one of our biggest I guess, threats that we're having to deal with right now. And it's actually one of the biggest indicators of how underfunded we are as not only a state, but also I mean, as a nation. So, that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is just lack of the funding. And as a red state, we know that we get a lot of our funding from the blue states, which I didn't even ask you where you're from. So, where are you
Uh,
from, Big J?
the state of Texas. I'm your neighbor. I'm from
You really
Texas.
are.
Yes, yes. I don't know if you can tell by my accent. Well, Texas got 10 different accents, so
They do.
so
They
you know,
do. This they
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
it's so funny because I grew up in Ardmore, Oklahoma, which I'm actually staying right now. And we're
Uh,
considered Texomans. So my accent is not a normal Oklahoman accent from what I've been told, but I have more of a Texas accent because on the border, like I'm 20 minutes from the Texas border. I
mm-hmm.
am about an hour north of Dallas and about an hour and a half south of Oklahoma City.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Because like Oklahoma accents have that. It's a very unique accent, has that twang. It sounds very, how can I say it? Very country. That's
Do you think so?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Y'all sound different up there. I mean, very, very. Because it's like every time it was like we always make fun of y'all. We always call y'all Okies and we always kind of see y'all as the soft version of us, and we kind of like how America sees Canada or Australia sees New Zealand. We kind of say it
Is
all
that
as the
really how
soft
y'all
version.
see us? That is so hilarious because I have
Yeah.
never heard a Texan ever give me, their synopsis on what Oklahoma is to them because I would have thought that we were like the toe jam to Texas. I don't know. That's just what I think.
We kind of see y'all like it's kind of like how like the Canada to Texas, something like that. I mean, to our U.S. You know what I'm saying? That's how though. And we always call y'all Okies, and then there's some of us who have a rivalry against y'all for some
Oh,
reason.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, all that. Yeah, um, yeah.
Well, one
So,
of the biggest things as to why we have a rivalry too is because we call it the Red River rivalry against I guess Texas. I
oh,
think
oh, oh, yeah,
the Longhorns and then OU. Yes, the Red River
yeah,
rivalry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, the Red River rivalry. I forgot about that. Yes, yes, we sure
Yes.
do. We sure do. Uh, so, going back to rural hospitals, though, Jasmine, how much, how many rural? Because like we have the same problem over here. But do you can you please tell me how many? Do you know offhand how many rural hospitals or regional hospitals has been uh, closed down within the last few years? Do you know? I mean,
I can't give you a number off top for the past few years, but within the past, I would say 6 months to a year, we've had about four or five that's actually been under um, the scrutiny of closing due to the fact that the Trump administration's budget cuts on the federal funding, and there has been time since we're pretty sovereign tribal land here. There has
mm-hmm,
been times that our tribes had to bail some of our rural hospitals out of, their I wouldn't say bankruptcy, but their financial issues.
mm-hmm.
And we're so lucky to have that option as well to be able to have that fallback plan for the tribes to help out where they can. But luckily for us, who are tribal, and I feel very, very, very sad for our community that's not tribal, is that we have IHS, which is pretty close to socialized healthcare. So that's why I'm fully on board with universal healthcare.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. So okay, when it comes to that, right? Uh, do you want Medicare for all type style plan, or or is there some other alternative plan when it comes to healthcare? In socialized medicine, which um, do you know?
No,
In
universal healthcare is pretty much on the ballot with me. So Medicare.
oh, what happened? Oh, something happened. Hello?
I, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
my
yeah,
husband
yeah.
started
Yeah.
to call. I apologize.
Oh, okay, okay.
I apologize.
All right. Well, I'll say it again. So So you want universal health care? So what's the difference between that and Medicare for all?
So Medicare for all is pretty much still, expanding on the because okay. So I'm not frustrated. I'm trying to get it right so I don't,
Right.
over or underspeak or underspeak overspeak. However, because of the fact that they can be a little bit misconstrued in so many ways, but universal health care is pretty much just stating that, it's federally ran. And the all the government dollars, so basically all your tax money goes into the government that's supposed to take care of all of your healthcare needs. And then Medicare for all is still pretty much leaving, the insurance companies up, with the ball in their court and still paying into them and still giving pretty much that um kind of like that monopoly, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I hear certain people tr- I hear certain candidates are for or Medicare for all. I see some people want an extension of some other thing because okay, your idea is more kin to what Canada has or the HMS system in Great Britain. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're pretty spot on. The same thing that Israel's getting that we're actually paying tax dollars into. Whatever they have, I would like for my tax dollars to also fund that same concept.
Okay, okay. Um, and let me see. What is your since though? Since what happened um to the person who you running for, who you was originally running against, Mr. Mark Wayne Mullen, and since he resigned to become the Secretary of Homeland Security, what is has that changed your campaign um in the
Um,
last couple weeks?
So one, I want to clarify the universal health care and the
Okay.
Medicare for all just very fast. So universal health care is ensuring that all residents have health care coverage, and Medicare for all is specific single payer mechanism to achieve it. So Medicare for all would eliminate private insurance. So I got them backwards in favor of a government run program, whereas universal health care can be achieved until um, multiplayer systems, including public options or subsidized private insurance. So pretty much still keeping the private insurance, but I just had them mixed up earlier. So I apologize and I take full accountability for having those two mixed up. I mean, Medicare for all is an incredible idea, but also it's going to get a lot of pushback due to the fact that, it's super government ran. But I still support that. I still support that having my tax dollars go into Medicare for all. So, I mean, either or would be still a better system than what we have right now, just to be honest with you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
I
so
apologize.
that's all right. That's all right. Look, hey, we all human. We all make mistakes. So so back to my original to my
Yes.
to the question I was asking. Has the resignation and the elevation of uh the former senator's position of what's his name Mullen to
Mark Wayne
be
Mullen.
uh Mark Wayne Mullen to be the Homeland Security Secretary. Has that affect your campaign or the campaign at large in Oklahoma?
Um,
Since there's no incumbent an incumbent to run against at this point.
I mean, it's made it pretty competitive, absolutely. And I don't want to say that it wasn't already competitive due to the fact that we are a quote unquote deep red state, but it also started making the playing field a little bit more broader as well. So I wouldn't say that it made it like a James Tallarico or a Jasmine Crockett type situation for our friends in Texas, but it definitely made it a little bit more, more, I guess, fast paced now because of the fact that we're having to basically prove who's the better party or who's the better person because we don't do parties over here like well at the NJT campaign. It's, who's the better person that's going to represent all of Oklahoma. And right now it's not looking very well for the Republican side for sure.
Okay, okay,
If
and
that makes
and
sense. I mean, if
since
that
we were
answers
talking,
your questions.
okay, yeah, it does. Yeah,
Okay.
I understand. I get the grip where you're coming from. Um, what about the um, given that? what happened, what caused Mr. Mullen to become Secretary of Homeland Security, about the ICE issue, and can you tell us what ICE is doing within, and you said that you're pro immigrant. How fair is the immigrant community in Oklahoma, and has ICE? Is there any reports of ICE doing any harm to the Hispanic community, or the immigrant or Asian community, or any other non traditional American communities in your state?
So, yes, absolutely. And there is very, very many reports of it's more often than not our Hispanic community that's being targeted. And we actually just stood up to the Oklahoma City Council just about, we're in what, April right now? So in January to stop a pretty much a detention center to be brought up in one of the warehouses that are in the Oklahoma City surrounding area. So we've definitely had some sightings and reportings of ICE being in the area. But I'm not very sure with our wonderful Hmong community or other immigrant community, because I know that the Asian community was being targeted at one point as well. But I haven't had any reports or anyone giving me news about our Asian communities here in Oklahoma being targeted, but for sure our Hispanic friends are being targeted relentlessly.
Okay. See. So, are you going to seek? Speak. I'm still on the same issue of ICE. Are you
Okay.
going to seek the dismantle of ICE, or you going to seek reform of
Yes.
ICE?
No, abolish ICE. Abolish ICE 100%, because the deal with ICE is that ICE was I wouldn't say invented, but it's a fairly new program, and it came up in 2003, and it was just basically in regards to the 2001 attacks on the Twin Towers. And so it was just basically to strong guard and make sure that our country was not under any imminent threat. And so we've had other agencies prior to them, such as still like Border Patrol. I'm sorry, not control, Border Patrol. We've had Customs, XYZ, but ICE is a fairly new program. So we can do without ICE and still be effective when it comes to, making sure that our immigrant friends are being treated fairly, but also being able to come into our country legally and start a new life, because I believe that every no one is illegal on this land, because America is a melting pot. That's what I believe. And it was built off of
No.
that.
Okay. And would you seek any litigation, um and criminal charges against agents, like what happened in Minnesota
Absolutely,
with
100%, hands down, hands down. Oh,
okay.
that is non-negotiable. Absolutely, because they're not
Okay.
just targeting our immigrant communities; they are also targeting anyone who gets in their way. Just like we had seen earlier this year, where they targeted not one but two white individuals within our country. That was in Minneapolis, killed two perfectly innocent people. And contrary to popular belief, there people will say, "Oh, well, they were." Impeding you know, um, on law enforcement, XYZ. But the thing is that protesting is not against the law. And standing and being able to conceal and carry in
Hmm.
a conceal and carry state is not illegal either. But taking out a gun and taking their gun from them and then shooting them with that gun is 100% illegal, and has repercussions have to happen. It has to.
Right, right. And 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 uh like you said, you are a military spouse, a wife of of a military, somebody who's in your husband's in the army. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. um since the uh invasions, and I'm gonna call it invasion of what happened in Venezuela, what's going on in Cuba, and yes, the bombings of the war that Mr. Netanyahu and Trump started in Iran. Uh, Can you, as I know you're a spouse of a person inside the military, and could you in some way tell me how does, and you don't have to tell me everything, how people in the military feel about the war crimes, I'll call it, by the
Mhm.
current administration.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's a lot more than people realize that are actually against what's going on right now. And we know that 63% of the military personnel actually voted for Trump in the 2024 elections. But the thing is that that's not conducive to half of the people that's actually in the military either. So that's probably about maybe one third, if at best, who actually were registered and actually got to vote. So a lot of them, including my husband, who are just absolutely just against what is going on right now. And I can tell you right now that it's a senseless conflict that we're having, and it's over oil, it's over power, and it's over greed. And anyone with a conscience and some type of empathy in their body, like some of our service members, if not most of them, can agree that a lot of this nonsensical conflict situation, it's just repulsive, and we don't agree with it. We don't agree with it. And I can't go too far, of course, because you even just called it out. Can't go too far into giving details because one, I don't get all those details. And two, it's just something that comes from the people that I'm directly in contact with, and that's
Hmm.
that's a slew of people. I can't give an actual number either because then people can start narrowing that down to my friends and family members, things of that nature. So I just
Right,
know that it's
right.
it's a few it's a few people that actually are standing up against this and saying, hey, I mean, even the commanders that are on post, that are saying, like, this is not what we want to do. Now, do we have commanders or um people at the top leadership who are just going with these orders? Absolutely. And do I think that they need to be held accountable? Absolutely.
Okay. And still staying on the subject of what's going on in the Middle East. Um, there are calls for impeachment. Some people said there are calls for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. I think Section 2 of the 25th Amendment. Um,
Hmm.
what do you think would be the best option to bring Secretary of Defense Hegseth and
Oh
Donald
my
Trump to
God.
heal?
I
Uh,
I hate him. Sorry. Like, I cannot wait to dog walk him and when I get to the Senate and we do a hearing with him, I cannot wait to grill him for everything that he's done, because he's done a lot to the military community that has actually torn the military community apart, but also made it to where it's nearly impossible for a civilian to actually trust someone in the military when they're supposed to be, one of the main people that are being, that are celebrated, and, that are thanked because and appreciated. And I'm not saying that that was everyone that had that feeling towards the military, but that was just something that was supposed to be an honorable job to do. And now he's just made it into a clown show. So I cannot wait to put him in his place.
okay, because I think that um, outside of the political space, I think there should be a class action lawsuit against Secretary Hegseth for the firing of General Brown, who was a
Yes.
joint chiefs, and he and excuse me, and other non-white male commanders, because I know there was a series of black men, black women, uh Hispanics, and yes, and white women who were fired out of the you know um major combative the field, I said not combat, but field commander leadership. I think there should be a class action lawsuit on that. Uh,
I do
what
too,
what
because
say
I'm
you?
very strong. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's what I believe it should happen.
I believe that too.
Plus, though, and and plus, though, what is your opinion? Now, I know you witnessing in Texas and also Louisiana the redistricting efforts. Has Donald Trump or your governor, what's his name, Steele? I think it is his name Steele up there. I forgot the governor's name where you have the
Oh,
governor in
you're talking about
Oklahoma.
Stitt?
Yeah, Stick. Okay,
Stitt.
has he tried? Has he tried to district efforts? Did he try to do what Greg Abbott down here in Texas trying to do, or the governor in Oklahoma is seeking to do with the Voting Rights Act? Is he trying to do the same
So
in where you at?
no, not just recently. I believe that this happened in the early 2020s. I know we're still in 2020, trust me, because this feels like the longest year ever, past couple years actually. But we haven't had any proposals that I know of within the past 6 months to a year since I've been in this campaign. But I know back in maybe like 2020 to 2022, there were some talks of redistricting and gerrymandering once again. And that's just another way for the Republicans to cheat their way into these seats. And I'm going to stand fully in my conviction with that. So, absolutely. But no, I'm so proud of Virginia for their efforts last night. They won in by incredible amount. It was close, but I do believe that it helps out because it also proves that certain states really aren't red. They're just heavily gerrymandered. And it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. But what Greg Abbott has done has been, an attack on the Texans' votes, and I'm still fully in shock, and I shouldn't be, because we were actually stationed in Texas at the time that him. No, I don't think it was him. I think it was Ted Cruz who had went on a cruise during the ice storm in 2021, and
Mm-hmm.
we were stationed at Fort Cavazos, which is also known as Fort Hood. And they didn't have any housing at the time for us. And we had to stay in a hotel with two small children for the week that it was absolutely just devastating outside. The hotel that was next door to us actually caught on fire, and there was a lot of rooms that were over full and inviting people, and he was just out of there. So I mean, it makes sense that Texas is the way that it is right now, especially with how gerrymandered it is with, two people who actually don't give a crap about anyone but themselves in charge and leadership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Like what
Stitt,
happened?
he plays on both sides of the fence at time, which is all right. Okay. So I'm not gonna fully deflect on that or project my insecurities on how he moves. But I mean, most of the time he runs concurrently with the MAGA agenda. Because I always say that there's a difference between MAGA and Republican. um your MAGAs are the ones that are you can't reason with them, and they don't have there's no sign of intelligent life anywhere. But two, I mean three, it's that there's really no thought process but hate behind their rhetoric, right? And then you have your old
Mm-hmm.
school Republicans that work, bipartisan across party lines, that believed in fiscal responsibility and funding our military. And I just made this joke a while ago, maybe like a week ago, so I say a while, but I say that their biggest things was fiscal responsibility, and fiscal responsibility, funding our military, and also staying off their lawn, and they will move on about their lives. Like, I'm not joking.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
MAGA, it can be insufferable.
Right. So, do you think that you think that MAGA is here to stay, or you think that the Republican Party would eventually, like the Mitt Romney wing, the George Bush wing, do you think they might retake the Republican Party within the next two election cycles, or you think that it's going to take time for the Republicans, uh, or it's going to take time for MAGA just to die out on his own.
I think that MAGA is a movement that just came along with Trump, and I believe that when Trump, sees his day, that it's going to kind of fizzle out. I think that those people are going to kind of start waking up, which we're seeing a lot of them actually be more proactive and call themselves leaving MAGA. But I can't say for sure if the Republican Party is ever going to go back to what it was, because we're going into a whole new generation of leadership with all these people who are running for change in America. So I'm not even believing that we're going to have a stronghold on a two-party system, come 10 years down the line. I believe that we're going to have different party systems, or we're going to have something that's going to, like the Working Families Party, for instance,
Hmm.
or we're going to have a system where it's basically like ranked choice. And MAGA hates that because then that takes the ball out of their court because of the fact that they're not researching their candidates. They're just going off of, just sound bites and, that what they want to hear, not exactly
Hmm.
what's good for our society, but exactly, what they want to hear when it comes to, not having abortions, or not letting our immigrant friends be stay safe at home, things of that nature. And
Okay.
I really think that there's going to be, I think we're going to have a time where we're going to not normalize half of the things that they're doing. And I really say that that's, I love DEI, by the way. I think DEI was not just made for the black, because I'm black myself, and I love it. My mother's black and native, and my dad's white. So I grew up culturally black, and that's what I stand on.
Yeah.
And so when I say this, I mean this in the most, pro black way that I can. But when I but what I'm about to say is that definitely I just really feel like DEI was never made for us. It was absolutely to give a leg up to our other communities, if you get what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And so, but I love the DEI because it also put us in everyone in playing fields that they normally probably wouldn't be in playing fields for. But where I'm going with that is that the diversity, equity, and inclusion, we were so heavy on that in the fairness of it, that we've allowed what MAGA has turned into, what the Republican Party has turned into. And that was just part of the equity and inclusion. They could have a voice and they could stand on whatever they wanted to, and we can disagree with it and not be okay with it and check it every once in a while, but then we let it run rampant.
Okay. Now you just emphasize your racial and ethnic makeup. Um,
Hmm.
Now, like you said you're pro black, even though you are, uh, your background
Multiracial.
is mixed, is multiracial. Um, Given what happened in Tulsa, um, with Black Wall Street and so forth, is there any um
Like
uh
reparations
right,
that I'm
right, right,
looking for. Absolutely. So
yes.
I actually sit down with Greenwood and I speak with Greenwood. I'm very close with them. And so we talk about these things and talk about how we can give back into our Black community that has lost everything that that their families have lost generations ago, because it was only 100, 100 plus years ago. It wasn't even like 110 years ago. It was 100, 2021 was 100 years. So it's
Yes.
2026. So about 100 and what, 4 years, 105,
Yeah,
give or
105,
take.
yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still in 2025 in my head, so I apologize.
Yeah, I understand. And, well, some of us wish it was 2025 at this point, or I wish it was still. I wish it was still 2019. Or
Oh
earlier than that. But
man.
yeah, I still wish it was 2015. We wouldn't be
Oh man,
dealing
take me
with
back
all
to
this.
2016. I had a ball. I was freshly 21 in 2016, and I mean that was a time in itself right there. So very, very, very
Mm,
fond. So take me back to those two. Like I agree with you. I
yeah,
agree with you.
yeah, yeah.
Give me
So when it comes
Obama.
to, yeah, you know what? I already have a third Obama turn at this point.
Oh
If I can,
yes.
you're right, right. So when it comes to reparations, how would you do it? I mean, since though since what happened in Oklahoma, since with the in Tulsa and Black Wall Street, how would you do reparations? Do you have any concrete idea, or do you believe that there should be some type of funding, like a set aside? What is your um idea on that?
Yeah, so one, it's all about sitting down and actually talking to the people that it's affected in many ways than one, because we still obviously have many generations that have lost, family homes, family land, and, family generations of wealth, because we know that Greenwood absolutely was booming and it was black dollars being put back into black communities, black storefronts, things of that nature. And we know that the government did that. And, that's not to say for sure. So I'm just going to say alleged because I don't want to speak on behalf of Greenwood, but I know Greenwood would definitely, um, have the same sentiment. But, we know that the government did that because the black dollar is very powerful within our communities. It's in our society. So when the black dollars weren't going back into the white businesses, because we do what we do as the black community is we grow from nothing. We're concrete roses. So when we're given nothing, we make something of it, do we not?
Right, right.
Right. So, with that being said, I believe that we should. I stop and listen. I meet that community where they're at, and I ask them the questions of reparations. Of what does reparations look like to you? A lot of them want compensation for what their families have been through for generations. A lot of them actually want, and when I say compensation, that's monetary, financial, and I don't blame them. A lot of them want their land
Mm,
back. A lot of them want to be able to start businesses within that area, which actually Greenwood does an incredible job by providing spaces and opportunities for the black community, giving back to them. So very proud of what Greenwood does through and through. And I'm proud to say that I stand with them, but also making sure that these people get the justice that they need. And there's a plethora of ways to give their reparations back to them. And it just starts by finding a common ground to how we can do it and how to be able to give these people their peace of mind, but also their ancestors' peace back. There we go. So they can rest well knowing that everything that they worked for did not go in vain.
okay. Do you want something? Because there was a lawsuit in Oklahoma concerning the native tribes getting their land back, or there was compensate. Do you want something similar to that? I think that happened, what, 8 years, about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm trying to remember when the native tribe sued. Uh, uh, the Supreme Court gave them their land back, or
I'm trying to, because I don't know if that's McGirt, and I don't think that that's McGirt. I think that McGirt is actually for, um, there's a lot of lawsuits that happen. So I'm sorry.
yeah, 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 like, yeah, because like they, because the Supreme Court gave,
Yes.
I forgot, was the Cherokee tribe? I'm trying to remember the tribe that 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 they gave back 80% of the land back. Um, this is about 4 or 5 years ago. I just want to know if you was not, if you had any idea of that lawsuit, or that. So I just want to know, because I was going to see if that could be formed as a basis for Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Greenwood, and stuff like that. I would just want to, um, I just want, anyway. So speaking about
So
the
normally,
African.
So
Go ahead. I'm
Osage
sorry.
have just recently been gaining a lot of their land back, and they've been buying that back as they go, which would be like in our north, like central northern Oklahoma, not central, but northern Oklahoma area. And that's what I know of so far. And I'll have to do a little bit more digging when it comes to what kind of, I guess, compensation the other tribes have gotten. But I'm Chickasaw myself, so
I'm just okay.
yeah. So I'm actually eighth generation Oklahoman. So I go all the way back even before 1907 when we became a statehood. My family has been here for generations and generations because of how deeply rooted. We came through the Trail of Tears, and we came up
Mm-hmm.
from actually Mississippi. So my family traveled from Mississippi all the way to Oklahoma, and we survived that, and we stabilized in southern Oklahoma because this was the land that was pretty much allotted to us. And so we have boundaries here. A lot of people think that, most tribes have reservations, and that we have, per cap, which per cap is basically just the tribes giving you money each year for like the rest of your life. And that's normally like our northern tribes, like South Dakota, North Dakota tribes. But that's in other places like Arizona or New Mexico, just places that has, a wide variety of other federally recognized tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually have boundaries, and we have a certain, and it kind of looks like a little gerrymandering map with our boundaries. That's how I look at it.
Right.
It's, and I believe it's small, but at the same time, like the boundaries are pretty small, but at the same time, Oklahoma's not a huge state like Texas would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have these boundaries, and our tribes serve within these boundaries. So we have like Comanche, Osage, Chickasaw, um, Choctaw, Cherokee, Kiowa, Blackfoot, all those different ones. Sac and Fox, huge. And so where I'm going with this is that we all have these little boundaries that they serve within, and we normally they serve us in those boundaries. So instead of getting per cap, which would be like money each month, they give us back like our Indian health services. They give us, money for college, so school scholarships. Like my grandma's house is built by the Chickasaw Nation from the ground up, and they have programs that really does help their native tribes and communities. So, but that's really what I know about the land allotment. But I'm always, I still have a lot to learn because I'm learning about each tribe as I visit. I go to cultural centers. I meet with tribal leaders, and I get a feel of what their tribe entails because sometimes you don't know what another tribe is dealing with because you're so intertwined with your own tribe. So if it's not happening to
Mm.
you, it's not. Sometimes we think that it's not happening at all.
Okay. Okay. And since we're talking about our issues as whether we native or black, what can like you please give us a state of education? um I don't know where you're at in when it comes to education, but
We're 50th in
uh
education.
huh, how,
Yes, you heard it right. 50th in education. Yes. We were 49th for the longest, and then we just recently hit 50th actually last summer. Can you believe it?
really? I see. I didn't know. I thought it was Mississippi or
No.
Louisiana. Okay.
Mm-mm. Actually, Mississippi has a comprehensive reading curriculum that they have started implementing into their curriculum, and they are actually moving up in the line there. But no, you would think, but unfortunately not. Mississippi is finally putting their actual funding into their school systems in their curriculum. So but I do believe 49th right now, and I can look that up as well, but I think I have to focus on 50th. You understand, and I don't say that in a rude way. I'm just saying, like, it's just a lot. Oklahoma is
Right.
also number one in domestic violence as well. So, like, we've hit every terrible pivot, like, and we just keep moving ourselves down as we're letting other people use our voices because Oklahoma, only half of our population, we have 4 million people, 4 million stinking people in Oklahoma, and only half of that votes and gets out and votes because a lot of them thinks that that the decisions are going to be made for them anyway, or they're disengaged, or they have apathy, or they just really feel like the system just does not work for us. And I've been one of those people who's thought that. But I thought that that was just more of a cultural thing than it was a across the board thing.
Mhm. Mhm. So how would you deal with education since since y'all are 50th in the nation, the bottom of the list of the 50 states? What do you,
Yeah.
what type of um how would you change the education system in Oklahoma and yes, in the United States as a whole?
Yes. So in the United States as a whole, I would definitely fund the Department of Education because I've actually worked closely with the Department of Education. And they've done some pretty good work, and they're actually more conducive to our systems than people, would think. So making sure that the funding is going back into these schools and they're not going anywhere because we just recently got rid of a former state superintendent who I will not say his name. And there was a lot of allegations behind him and where the funding was going with the school systems. And there's not enough investigation going on. They're not investigating this enough in order for us to be able to feel secure with how, the money mismanagement, but also the hold the accountability is being, spread across, evenly. So, we need that transparency. We need to one start voting locally and putting in people who have the best interest for our children and making sure that when we're looking at these people who are running for school board or who's running for superintendent, that these people actually have a plan to better our children's lives and make sure that they know what kind of resources are needed within Oklahoma. But I want to also fund our teachers and make sure that our teachers aren't paying for supplies out of their pockets. They are getting the necessary resources that are needed because, let someone who's never taught a day in their life tell it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they'll say all day like, oh, teachers aren't doing this, teachers aren't doing that. And it's like, okay, have you actually sat down and talked with a teacher or two? Because I've talked with plenty and they're all saying the same thing. And and sometimes they're saying it's not even just the money portion that is causing us to burn out. It's really just the excess of kids in our class. So we need, and I can't stress this enough, we need smaller class sizes. And a question that I just recently got while I was at a college campus the other day, actually, university that I went to, they asked, they said, well, how can you, support smaller class sizes? Do you have to build on classrooms? And you don't, because there's so many classrooms that actually go unused because there's not enough funding to go into those schools to be able to fix those classrooms that may have, a leaky roof or that may need, I don't know, fluorescent lights in there or new carpet, whatever it may be. So, with that being said, we've got to start listening to our teachers and putting our teachers' best interest at heart because we're never going to move up in the ranking system if we keep running them off and making sure that we keep retaining these teachers. Retention is huge, huge.
Mhm.
And also funding our students. One thing about Oklahoma, and I think America as a whole, is that we prioritize sports over the academia. And I like sports myself, don't get me wrong. Like my husband's a huge, huge, huge sports fanatic. So sports is on 24/7 in my house. It doesn't matter if it's disc golf, if it's if it's literally I can't think the Winter Olympics that just recently, passed. I mean, we would literally sit at our table and after dinner we would stay there and we would watch these things. And we've put so much money into our sports systems and keeping these kids eligible, and that's what we worry about. We don't worry about if these kids want to go to college or go to a technical school. We need to be, prioritizing their academia before we're prioritizing sports, because sports
Hmm.
should definitely be a getaway, and it should definitely
Sure.
be something that builds team bonds, and it builds a coalition with children, and it also just kind of gets some of their frustrations out. Like, sports is actually imperative to a child's development, don't get me wrong, but when we prioritize sports over education, that's when we get systems like being 50th in education. um Another thing that I want to do is that, Maryland is number two. It's ranked number two in the nation. And my kids actually benefit from what's called DODEA, which is Department of Defense Education affiliates. And I don't think it's affiliates, I think it's association or something like that. But it's
Hmm.
ultimately military schooling. So militaries, they basically take the curriculum from Maryland and they utilize that in their core curriculum. And so they absolutely bring the competitiveness to the military affiliated students. And I feel like that was the best thing, because the best thing that they could have done, because it is competitive and it makes kids think, but it also puts it boosts the kids in their gifts, whatever that gift may be. So yeah, sorry, I can go into that all day.
Yeah. Okay. Would you be in favor of what's it called? Charter schools? Would you be in favor of that, or you think that's kind of passe at this point?
No, I believe that we should fund public schooling. I believe that, charter schools are great. Any school is great that's actually bringing some type of substance to the kids, and also, taking care of the teachers and the staff and faculty, because it's not just teachers that need to be taken care of. It's the whole dynamic, right? Like bus
Hmm.
drivers, lunch ladies, um, our people who, work at the front desk, our secretaries, our principals, things of that nature. So it's the whole diaspora. But um, I believe that private vouchers for schooling, and that being, used as a tax, our taxes going into that should not be a thing, because we know statistically that who actually goes to these private schools are actually people who are on the wealthier ends. And we know that people who are utilizing these vouchers that are in play now are actually the wealthier community, contrary to popular belief. And I had one of my supporters come to me and talk to me about that and said, "Hey, I'm an accountant for a very, huge firm, and a lot of my clients are, wealthy, super wealthy, oil and gas industry. They are Thunder. They put in money for Thunder. The uh, investors for Thunder. There we go. Investors for Thunder, or they bring." Like businesses such as McDonald's, XYZ. So I can go into that all day, but they actually have decent commonwealth here. And they're utilizing the voucher program. And I think that that's not tolerable for what it was actually meant for. And it was meant for parents who didn't meet a threshold, that needed to, a little bit of help to get their kids and maintain their kids in these private schools. So no, I'm all for public schooling, because I was a public school. I'm a product of public school, and I believe that I'm doing just fine, and I am super, knowledgeable and also intelligent, but also that was because of the fact that there were incredible teachers who actually had the training, the degrees to do it, because that's what we're seeing right now, is that there's not a lot of teachers here in Oklahoma who are actually, I wouldn't say, I can't say registered, sorry, but they're not, they're not certified to actually be teachers. They're that's lack of the word. So they're not having the same standards. There we go. As they're not. the same expectations and standards as they would when I would say we were in school. They had to have
Okay.
bachelor's degree or higher. But now we have emergency teacher certificates now going on. So that's a huge issue as well in education.
Yeah, and still, I'm still going this education thing because there's one thing that our governor did uh, during the whole Charlie Kirk's or before Charlie Kirk's. It was around the time Charlie Kirk has death, and he said that he want Turning Point USA for one. He want Turning Point USA chapters to be taught in school or be part affiliated with some schools, and he also want certain teachers to take if there's a teacher that's coming in from California, New York, he wants to ban them or something, or he want to do these litmus tests, I should say, on outside teachers who happen to move into the state. What is your opinion on that? Because I think that's one of the most ridiculous um, ideas ever. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so my opinion, it holds the same as yours. So I do believe that they feel like they want to maintain their narrative in keeping indoctrinating the children the way that they want to indoctrinate them, such as, with heavy religion and heavy, biases, things, so on and so forth. And that's just something that we're seeing. It's not that these teachers aren't heavily qualified, and most are more than qualified to come here and actually teach, in the red states. It's all about them being able to control a narrative that that they ultimately can say that they were responsible for, instead of having these people from blue states with free thinking, free power, and I say free power, but power within themselves, willpower, and
Hmm.
also with actual, degrees that they say that colleges made them, liberal from. Like, it's just that they have an odd agenda. That's all it is. It's an odd agenda that's just placing more scrutiny and more indoctrination within our kids, and I believe that that's really what it is. They want to heavily emphasize religion into school systems when we live in a constitution that says that we have the freedom of religion, so we can practice however we want. But white nationalists, Christian nationalists, are really, really, really just trying to push their conservative values. And it just reminds me of Gilead, honestly. If you've ever seen The Handmaid's Tale.
Hmm. I heard. I read some of the book. I read the books though.
Yeah,
I ain't,
it was
I ain't
also a
watched
great show. The show was incredible as well too, and it really gives you a good idea of what our nation could look like if we kept putting the power into the patriarchy, pretty much, and into a white conservative patriarchy at that. So it's just best if we just keep letting these teachers come in and supporting them, because that's what we need. We need people from all over the place to come in with different experiences to let some of these kids, know that there's more to life outside of Oklahoma, or outside of their rural town, or outside of urban cities. And you can go far. And they can be like, well, I came from California and I came all the way to Oklahoma to teach you. So that should tell you that there is a world out there that needs to be explored. Because I can honestly tell you, before I got married to my husband, I didn't see the
it.
world. I didn't see the United States. I was pretty I wouldn't say isolated, but I was pretty much in a vacuum to Oklahoma. I hadn't even really traveled around Oklahoma out of the 24 years at the time that I was single and living here. I I just out of the 30 now, I can't say 30 because 24 is when I really started traveling around with my husband and my family now. But yeah, I mean, I just recently started getting out and seeing different parts of Oklahoma with this campaign trail. It's just that once you're in a small town, you're kind of stuck there unless you have
Yeah,
a bigger ideation to move or to see different places.
Right, right, because I'm a product of a small town, and I have that type of unless because living in a small town does insulate, and it does also isolate at the same time, and is a reward. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not, because it does has an isolating effect on a person. Um, so yeah,
Well,
so yeah,
my grandma just last year, she is 75, and she didn't fly on a plane to go visit her sister in California until last year. So my grandma has been pretty landlocked, not just, not
mm,
ever being able to see the ocean, but, landlocked within our small community of Ardmore in Texas, like North Texas or Dallas. We went to San Antonio a couple times, but outside of that, Oklahoma City and Dallas or San Antonio is as far as she's ever went in her 75 years of life until she went to California. But I think that's also a generational wealth gap thing as well, because we know that Black communities are, they're underserved, underfunded, and they're also, that we don't make enough money to get out and see the world. And that's why we've all been trying to break wealth gaps. We've been trying to break the curses by us actually working hard, and unfortunately we live in a capitalistic society, so that's what we have to do. We have to work hard for us to afford to take our kids to Disney World. Like, in Disney World is
mm,
costing us tens of thousands of dollars when it shouldn't. That should be the happiest place on earth, but it's only the happiest place on earth if you got some bread to spend.
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. I ain't went to Disney World since 2000. Yeah, the year was 2000. I think the last time I went to. Yeah, it was expensive though. Um, so so I don't know if we covered crime, but yeah, let me segue to crimes. Since we're talking about how we're underserved, uh, is there any I reforms you want to see in the criminal justice system and
Yes.
policing? What type of reforms you would like to see?
So, one, we have medical marijuana that's actually legal here, and it's actually
Hmm.
medicine. It is something that people actually use, and they utilize it, as such. They don't abuse it. They don't do anything that would constitute anyone to take it away. And that's actually been something that's been, how can I say this politely, at risk right now. And so we know that statistically, the Black community is obviously underserved and underfunded, as I said. And so that's what makes people, go out and commit crimes. And it's not just a Black community, it's any community at that, is that when we don't have our hierarchy of needs met, we have to resort to crime in order for us to be able to sustain a livelihood to some extent. And we know that if we actually had the resources and we had the funding within our Black communities, we know that our Black communities could thrive. Absolutely. Because it's far few in between right now that that we're even seeing. When we put so basically what I'm trying to say is when we put forth the resources into our Black community and our Black kids and their schooling, we've seen kids go on to become doctors, nurses, lawyers, astronauts, obviously, because we have a astronaut that went on the Artemis just a couple weeks ago. That's right here
Hmm.
from Oklahoma. We have them go on to be, I don't know if I already said accountants, but like they go on to be engineers, HVAC techs, things like that, because they don't want to live a life in crime. I'm telling you, our generation is wanting to break generational curses and not be in, the school to prison pipeline. But we also have to break that school to prison pipeline by stopping these unnecessary testing in third grade that, tells us if a child is going to, end up in the system or not, but also stopping the for-profit prison system that is harming our community to an extent. I mean, to, I don't know, the heavens. It really is. The for profit. prison systems across the nation, because I can't just speak on Oklahoma. I speak on, the national stage as well. But we know that, as many, if they get as many people as they can to, be in these prisons, the more that these people are going to get paid. The owners of these prisons are going to get paid. The investors are going to get paid. We just live in a corporate, capitalistic, nation. And that's got to stop. We got to
Hmm.
start putting people first.
Uh, 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 would you back um, the clean slate type laws? Like there's a clean slate law in Pennsylvania. I forgot the guy's name. And he
Oh,
passed a clean slate
absolutely.
law. Okay.
Absolutely. But that's where I was going with the medical marijuana earlier, is that we know that, the community, our Black and brown communities had to go into selling, what they would call drugs in order to even take care of their families at one point in time. And so, they were getting locked up for even just minuscule amounts of, and traces of marijuana. And so, those shouldn't be misdemeanors. Those should absolutely not be misdemeanors. They should absolutely be something that, you get a citation for, because if it's legal, we need to, one, nationally make it legal for medical marijuana usage. But two, we need to make it to where, if we just have something like that, they get a citation if it's not, within the parameters of the legal, or the legislation, instead of trying to throw everyone in the prison pipeline. But also, if we're going to put people in prison, it's a multi-billion-dollar business right now. But also, there's sometimes there's prison systems that are actually inhumane. And I'm not saying people who go to prison should absolutely have like the king treatment there, because they need to learn from their punishment. But I also think humanity still matters. I do.
Hmm.
And I think making sure that, because I had a cousin who was in the prison system for a long time before his untimely death in 2017. So he missed out on a lot of things within our life. And then, with his life being cut short, from a auto accident, it was, it really took away from our family. And it really just made us miss what we never had. So I want to prevent that from any other family that's going on, that this is, ruining their family dynamics, if I can. And there was one more thing that I was going to say, and it was super important. I believe in, rehabilitating our,
Hmm.
non Oh,
Violent.
I keep, yes, are nonviolent. I believe that rehabilitation is more important than just having them sit in dusty cells all day. Rehabilitation has proven, and it's Sweden does it. Yeah, there's that Norway does it, and they actually put back in and put forth effort into their incarceration system and into the people who are incarcerated, and they put them into trades and skills, so then they don't have to go out and do the things that they were doing before.
Okay. It okay. So in terms of energy, oh, it's raining again. Good. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I have a roof, so um, so when it comes to Oklahoma is a plain state, right? Um, and y'all also is an oil producer. Um, if you want, if America needs to be an energy independent, right, in the terms of energy, would you try to create more windmills, solar panels, diversify our energy output outside of carbon? Now, I'm not anti-carbon, quote unquote, but I am for diversifying our energy in America. What is your energy policy? I should say in that
So it
regard.
is because we know oil and gas is important to Oklahoman, because that was what we were built off of. We were rich in the oil and gas industry. And, I just recently found out, and maybe because I lived in a shell, or maybe because it just was never taught to me, is that, oil. is used for many other purposes other than just like cars or lawnmowers. It actually makes the soles of your shoes. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Oh, well, I guess I'm just late to the party. Okay, I'm the only person that's late. No, no, my team was late to the party too, so that made me feel a little bit better. But yeah, so like I mean, we have to sustainably, utilize oil because it does keep our systems flowing. But I do believe in putting us back into the Paris climate agreement, so we can, still ultimately make our or keep our water and our air clean. So, putting forth money or putting interest into the windmill turbine, and also our solar is 100% on the ballot with me, because I do believe that we have the technology and we have the resources to be able to produce sustainable um, energy. I do. And so it's just incentivizing these companies to be able to, get this out and make it affordable for the people who are needing it or who are wanting to utilize it, and also incentivizing our community that ultimately switches from regular electricity into solar. So, I mean, there's a big plan with that, and also making sure that our cars are still going to electric, and making sure because I rented a electric vehicle about 2 or 3 months ago, and that was the worst time of my life because it wasn't a long distance one, and so like I kept
Mm-hmm.
having to stop and charge, and the charge is, it sometimes takes 45 minutes to an hour in order to even charge, and sometimes you just got to go, right? And filling up your gas tank is much more efficient and much more, it's quick. So, like we just have to find better ways to operate within the electric transportation, but also investing in rural transportation, or even, transportation such as um, share. And I don't want to say share, ride share, because we already have that. It just has to be utilized, right? And not many people, but public transportation. If we're able to have affordable, realistic, quick transportation, I think that that would cut back on our carbon footprint by milestone by light years.
Would you be in favor of high speed rail in Oklahoma, or some type of transportation system that's similar to high speed rail, or commuter trains?
Yes, absolutely. And I also think that that would be something that would be incredible for the United States as a whole, like something that would be able to get someone to, from New York to California per se, instead of having to pollute the ozone with jet fuel, if it, or with, the carbon emissions that are coming from the the cars, but also, regulating AI data centers as well, making sure that if we're going to utilize AI to any extent, making sure that it's not at the cost of our natural resources like water or air pollution, because we're seeing a lot of that too. In Tennessee right now, and it's a small town outside of Memphis. They have a data center out there that, that is causing them harm and health
Hmm.
complications, and so they're putting them in these black communities as well. And that's the scary factor about it. It's like, why are they going into these, non-populous areas but are more populated by our minorities, instead, of actually putting it somewhere where people can actually stand outside and protest it, if that makes sense. But I
Right.
mean, I think AI is a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great tool. But if it's harming our environment, then it shouldn't. We should have better regulations on it, and better oversight and safer guards. So people, it's not at the expense of people and their health.
Okay. Do you, because of the let me say,
Mhm.
there's something else I want to ask. It's something important I want to ask. I forgot. It's left my head. Um, but I'll move on to. I'll segue to something else then. Um, when it comes to I'm gonna use a question with my friend, with my supporter want to ask. Um, what because of the Dobbs case and the rolling back of Roe v. Wade, would you codify Roe v. Wade as it was at the time? And what's your opinion on the issue of the woman's right to choose with reproductive health?
Oh, 100%. It should be a woman's right to choose however she wants to, regulate her own body. Like she wasn't asked to be born. So however she wants to treat her temple is how it should be treated. So if she wants to get birth control, then she should absolutely have that option to be able to obtain birth control at Planned Parenthood. Funding Planned Parenthood to be able to have healthier families and family dynamics as well. But not only that, but also because we know that women's healthcare is healthcare, period. We know that Planned Parenthood not only just did abortions, quote unquote, they also did, reproductive health care. So they did cancer screenings, they did birth control, they did, women's just taking care of the woman as a whole, because there's a lot of intricate genetic makeups of a woman, right? And
Hmm.
also making sure that women didn't die of, complicated pregnancies, or it just gave the women so many options to take care of themselves, because I do believe that a fetus is a clump of cells until it hits about 13 to 14 weeks, which, or viability, until it hits viability. As a nurse, I know that viability is 23 to 24 weeks, or, depending on, what region you're in, it even could be at 20 weeks. So I believe that putting forth that women's healthcare incentive, and also culturally competent care for Black women, because we know Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from childbirth complications than our counterparts. So that science is real, and I will never negate that science is absolutely 100% valid, and it's just 100% just absolutely just undeniable. um and so, putting that funding women's healthcare is also, funding the research into women's healthcare. So I wouldn't just definitely codify Roe versus Wade what it is. I would, of course, put in much stronger guards where then we can codify it, where it can't be overwritten, overruled, or it can't be, mistaken or loopholed. And I think that that's where a lot of our legislation gets lost in the abyss anyway, is because of the fact that people just are able to find the loopholes and be able to, cut programs and cut funding, or just cut things out completely because of their own bias or their own opinion or their own belief. And we need to make it clear that that's not how this is going to work going forward.
Okay, and what it okay? What loopholes would you close in concerning in that area?
So loopholes would be like, what do you, as a person, or, even as a lawyer, what do you, interpret viability of a fetus? What do you interpret women's health care as? Because I mean, we can go into the legalities of it, but I'm also not an attorney, so I can't just give you point by point. I just can tell you that there are loopholes that people were able to hurdle over in order to even get Roe versus Wade even repealed and overturned,
Okay.
and we need to get it overturned. Just like we need Citizens United overturned. We don't need big money and big, and dark money and campaign finance. And there shouldn't be corporations that should be able to pay into our politicians to buy their interests. There should never be a time that a politician has more concern of what a corporation does than what their constituents want, that actually voted them in. So there's a lot of overturning that we have to do. And I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of work that needs to be done as well.
Okay. Okay. Um. Let me see. Oh. Going back to the point I was going to ask about, Oklahoma energy and all that. Now, here's the question, because down here in Texas we're having a a drought problem. The city of Corpus Christi is is running out of water, right? So they don't
Okay.
have no desalinate. Yeah. I'm talking about how lunacy it is, right? So
Yeah.
Corpus Christi's run out of water. West Texas, even East Texas is running out of water. Some rivers are drying up. Well,
Hmm.
I don't know about now because it's raining like crazy. But uh, is it happening the same in Oklahoma in your state? I mean,
No,
the
we're
droughts.
actually no, we're actually getting pretty decent. Well, you know what? Let me not lie to you because at the same time, when it gets really hot outside, because you know how dry this heat can be,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how it, we definitely have seen better days. I mean, worse days than what we're having to deal with this spring. But when it gets to the summertime, we do often see that um like we do have droughts and we do have lack of resources when it comes to our water supply, but it's not been to the point in from my recent knowledge that we've had, lack of water supply because it's been super rainy here. I think that we've had more tornado threats from January to now from all the rain. I mean, not just rain, but you said I'm saying like we've had a lot of storms come through. So we're not
Mm-hmm.
facing that same issue. Is that where
Oh,
you're
okay.
kind of based out of? Is the Corpus Christi kind of area? Is that why
Yeah.
you're okay?
Well, it's not just Well, I mean, yeah, I'm closer to Corpus, but when I see what's happening in West Texas, food prices going up, um, you see how these data, the ideas of certain cities are taking away well water from from rural people because we down here, in Texas we have the I there's no law to how much water you take. So corporations and in large cities can take water from other locations
Mm-hmm.
and like okay like Corpus had been taking water from rivers that are hundreds of miles away rather than
Mm.
rather than creating their own desalination plants and drawing water from the Gulf and desalinate water and it's creating a problem among the farmland and the farmers and the ranchers in Texas. And I believe it might create a famine or sorts. Um, so yeah, that's why I asked if if y'all having the same effect
Well,
up
I
there.
mean,
So that's why I was asking.
no, no, no. Like, and I thank you for clarifying that. But from what I know as of right now, I think our biggest thing right now, especially within our agriculture business, or for our families that are dealing with the fallout of like the tariffs and also not utilizing American products such as meat byproducts or and packaging here is that's what I'm getting a lot of when I'm speaking to my cattlemen and my farmers is more of we're not able to sell our products because of these one tariffs, but also because of the fact that people aren't they're not we're buying other, beef and stuff from Argentina instead of putting back into our communities and our local farmers. And so, like, my farmers are definitely on the ballot with me, and taking care of them and making sure that, they're able to get maintain their livelihood in this crap show that's going on. Because ultimately they pay taxes and stuff, and they also give back into our communities. They do USDA programs, so that's taking away food from families' mouths, but it's also taking away um, it's ultimately taking away the livelihoods of these farmers. But no, I mean, I just spoke on that part because I can't honestly say that I've heard them speak about famines um or like droughts, things of that nature. It's just more
Okay.
of, listen, our food is going to waste, like our soybeans, we can't sell them to
R-
who we normally bought them from, which Asian countries, or our wheat is in silos still and it's basically wilting. So I mean that's really all I'm hearing. So if
Right.
I'll have to
I'm
touch
also
base with them to see.
right because I'm also hearing what you're saying as well. I mean, is I'm also hearing droughts. I'm also hearing what you're saying because it's also happening in Arkansas, your nearby state, because you see a lot of farmers in Oklahoma are taking their own lives because they're losing their farms, so they decide to take themselves out, their own lives because of the tariffs and it's becoming a problem. Um, the soybeans been going to China and Japan, and they're not. And Trump's tariffs has destroyed their farms. Um,
Right.
yeah, so yeah, that's part of the reason why I asked that question because I just want to know what is your idea on agricultural policy as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and
so
it's
so
just
yeah.
basically to give the, I mean, there's so many, and I normally tell my community that I cannot make policy without them. I'm huge on that. So like I cannot speak from experiences that I have not been through. So that's why I speak with them and we build up these policies. So
Hmm.
they'll tell me like, this is how we can do this. We can just start putting it back into the community, making sure that it gets put back into, the into our ecosystem or in the nation. And what else? I'm trying to think of what else they say, but I mean, it's pretty. They're pretty standard on them wanting, their food to be American made more than anything.
Right,
I
right.
don't. It's a double-edged sword, honestly, with all of this stuff because it's like, dang if you do, dang if you don't. Um,
Hmm.
and, but the thing is I think that we can all collectively come to a consensus just stating that everything that's going on right now has led to, worse outcomes than if it were to be a a person who actually, I don't know, listened to the people of America and actually did right by them. Um, it really is, and I don't know. I think double edged sword is such a wrong term to put with this, but I mean everything has nuance, right?
Right, right, right.
Everything has nuance, but at the same time, there's like this is a non-negotiable thing. It's like making sure that our farmers actually have the resources and the sustain in a way to sustain their businesses because that's this is what they signed up to do. This is what has been passed down in their families. They feed generations of families. They take care of their community. So I think that we should be taking care of them. But I right now I'm just a peon that's just advocating for the average American. I don't
Right.
have any huge say so right now. All I know is that if Oklahomans were to vote for me, they would be voting in their best interest, because their voice is the interest. If like
Yeah.
it is. And I really love my Oklahomans and I really do hold them to a incredible standard. And it's not a huge standard. It's a standard of excellence because I know that we can do better. I know that we have a lot to, to give and not just take the way that people kind of portray us to be, especially being a quote unquote red state. We have so much to offer and we have so much beauty and in heritage, and it's just sad that it goes to waste because we don't have the resources or we don't have the the capacity to be able to demonstrate who we are as
Hmm.
people, because not all of us are like not all of us are Trump supporters, as contrary to popular belief. A lot of us don't believe in everything that's going on, and a lot of us didn't want this. But we have to also be cognitive that when we don't get out and vote and we don't actually utilize our voices, things like this happen where we get stuck in these cycles, of manipulators and abusers who take our nativity our they take our kindness for granted. And
Hmm.
I'm I'm really hoping that we can spark change in Oklahoma in order for us to be able to grow and thrive the way that we're supposed to. Because if anyone loves Oklahoma, it's me. It's an eighth generation Oklahoman. You understand? And
Right.
I'm going to do everything I can to be able to provide the best life for not only the children of Oklahoma, but even the adults, because we're just as important. I do believe that. I do believe that we're just as important to be, poured into as well, because we help our GDP. We grow the economy, and we also make decisions based off of, like what the needs are of Oklahomans. And there's no one that knows Oklahoma more than Oklahomans.
Okay. Well, well, I'm a, I don't have any more questions. So,
Hopefully, I didn't disappoint.
oh no, you sure did, you sure did. I love it. I love it. I've been. This is about my 15th interview. I think I did. I mean, yeah, yeah, about. I won't know. There's been like less than 10 interviews because I did an interview with a lady from Oklahoma, from Louisiana, who's running for Congress, Ruba. Garcia, and then I had I interviewed a guy who's running against Cory Booker for U.S.
Oh,
Senate primary him. Yeah, so yeah, I've been doing this as a hobby and everything. So yeah, but so any last words, Mrs. Thomas, for
yes.
um,
Absolutely. So
yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to say that my name is Nikayla Jasmine Thomas, and I am running for the U.S. Senate seat against Mark Wayne Mullen. I'm sorry, not Mark Wayne Mullen. I'm so used to that, and now that he's gone, it's not a talking point for me anymore. But as a
Right.
Democrat, and I'm here to represent Oklahomans as a whole. I am solely grassroots, and I'm APAC and corporate PAC free. So I represent my community, and I have a strong interest in my community. And if you can, please donate. Go to socials, like, comment, share, spread the word. Because with a lot of our grassroots candidates, what we do is we lack a lot of funding. So if you can just, donate here and there, 5, 10, $15. Make sure that you are supporting if not just my campaign, any campaign that you align with, and making sure that we have the best interest of not only your local community, but also America as a whole. And it starts with you, until we can get money out of politics. And thank you for having me. I'm super excited to
Yeah.
be
Yes,
able
ma'am.
to continue this journey. And hopefully, we will cross paths again when I'm a senator.
All right. One last question before you leave, though.
Yes.
So this is your very first campaign, right?
Yes.
Oh, you
Yes.
know what? Let me ask this then. Let me ask this then, because that's probably I should have asked this at the beginning. How does it feel? Um, this being your first campaign. Um,
Um, it's stressful. It's embarrassing. It is one of the toughest things that I've done in my life, and I've given birth. It's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done, because I've gotten to shake hands, and meet people where they're at across Oklahoma. But also, it's one of the most stressful things I've ever had to go through in my life. And I just really feel like this is not made for the common folk. This is made for people who's had their foot in the door with politics, and they made it this hard. Like our government and the system has made it hard for people like us to be able to have a voice. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed going forward in the future. But
hmm.
I think that it's absolutely something that we can pretty much tackle going forward, and that would be, overturning Citizens United, things like that. And so putting the voice back into the people's hands. But I think, you were asking me to be super honest with it, and I just had to be honest. And I believe that, the raising funds is super embarrassing, because of the fact that, people are struggling right now. People are, making ends meet. They're getting laid off. They have children. They have families that they have to take care of. And, us politician, and I'm not a career politician, so I'll have to make that clear. But, us people who are running for these positions, it's we know how hard it is because I've not been spoon fed my whole life. So I know it's hard to give 5, 10, $15 into a candidate, let alone also put that food back into your children's mouth. So
Hmm.
I want to make sure that our community understands that us grassroots candidates, we understand where you're coming from. So even if you can't, donate or do the things. I mean, just volunteering, getting active within your community to show that you want change is so imperative.
All right.
But thank you for asking me because one thing that they don't ask you are those questions. They ask you harder questions, but they never ask you like, how are you? Like, what does this mean
Hmm.
to you? Like, how hard is this? Because it's mentally strenuous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see how much campaign finance you have to report every quarter, and you have to have an accountant, and then you have to have a treasurer, you have to have a custodian. You have all these types of people you have to hire to keep your records, and yeah, yeah, yeah. I see how they try to keep some people from running for office or attaining a political position. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, and it's demeaning. And it's quite the opposite of what the Constitution says that, a an elected official should be. And
Hmm.
it really does kind of it kind of brings the light and the awareness to exactly what we're dealing with and why we're dealing with it in, 2026 and beyond. So, absolutely. And thank you for having me. I'm super
Yeah,
blessed. And I've never heard of you before. So,
I'm
um,
just a small time content creator. I just do this as a hobby. That's all.
oh
So
no, I mean, but that's not just small. That's something that informs people. Like, I mean, don't ever think that this is small. This is huge. Anytime that you can inform voters or just people in general is always like I feel like that's a civic duty that should be done, period. So thank you
hmm.
for doing what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But thank you, Mrs. Thomas, for being here, and thank you, and tell Mary thank you, your campaign manager, for
Yes.
contacting me. Yes. So anyway, well, this
She
will
must know she must
conclude.
know you then for sure. She must
No, no,
be.
no, no, no. She was very nice contacting me back. The emails me, informing me that, yeah, yeah. It's like I like how your campaign is run. How some people, people in your campaign are so yeah. Um,
Yeah, we're pretty
so
down to earth around here. I have great people on the team, so very
right,
lucky.
right. Yeah, 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 y'all seem very close knit. So that's why
Yeah,
because
and
like
fun fact, I'm sorry,
yeah.
is that my campaign team is actually made up like of volunteers. So like everyone that's doing this has not been in the political sector. Everyone just really believed in, the cause of building a better Oklahoma, but also building a better they just believe in me. So therefore, they just dedicated their time and resources into me. And, I give back to them as much as I can. That's why I always ask for donations outside of getting walk cards and like campaign merchandise for the people who are supporters. It's because like I make sure that I feed them, even though I don't give them a salary. I make sure that they're fed. They have gas in their cars when they're out doing the things that they need to do for me. And I'm out. They never ask. They never do anything that they couldn't do out of their own, resources. But the mere fact is that they believe in me so much that they would, put everything on the line in order to support me. Is that tells you that that's a true grassroots power, but also that also tells you that people want change here.
Hmm. All right then. Well, I don't want to keep up your time and everything else. I know you have a long campaign ahead of you. So, and I appreciate you for being here, Mrs. Thomas, and good luck to
Thank
you and
you.
yours. And this concludes my interview, and I wish you the best. So,
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
yes, 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 ma'am. So this concludes our my interview with Mrs. Nikayla. I'm like
Nikayla. It's okay, Jasmine.
Nikayla, Nikayla Jasmine Thomas.
Thomas.
So
Yes.
senatorial candidate for the state of Oklahoma. So I
Yes.
wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Um,
thank you,
I
and
have
good
a quick
luck.
question. Where can I hear this at? Because I didn't get the specifics.
Um, I'm gonna upload this on my Rumble, and I'm do this on my YouTube channel, and also
Okay.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it. I'm trying to put it on my Twitch
Okay.
and Blue Sky.
Okay. Sounds good.
I
I
don't know.
just wanted to
Okay, okay, all right then. Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
If you hear, it might be on my Twitch or my Blue Sky account.
Okay.
So
Okay. Sounds
yeah,
good. I'm super
yeah. I'll do
excited. I
that.
can't wait.
All right, all right then. All right then. You have a nice one, man.
You too. Bye bye.
All right then. All right. Bye bye, y'all. So anyway, this concludes my interview, and I'll see y'all next time. Big J out. Peace.